Hello crafty friends, welcome to today's messy mixed media card making video. Today I'm going to make two cards from one sheet of paper. So I've got a piece of mixed media paper here and I'm just drawing around the outside of the die that I intend to use to cut down the paper once it's got its mixed media on it. This just helps me to focus the mediums that I'm going to put on the paper. I decided to do some smooshing on these cards, so I just taped my card down to my glass mat to stop it from warping. This isn't the world's greatest mixed media paper, but it is lovely and white and bright, and I find taping it down to a flat surface stops it warping too much. For my colours, I'm using Distress Oxides in Uncharted Mariner and Broken China, which are greeny blues. And I started by smooshing on the Broken China towards the middle of my piece of paper. So I've got some smooshing coming in from the right hand side of the left hand rectangle and from the left hand side of the right hand rectangle. I hope you can see what I mean. I did use a paintbrush to pick up some leftover broken china and I spattered that on to bring in a bit of extra energy. And then I smushed on some Uncharted Mariner, which is a darker greeny blue, and spattered some of that on as well. Before it had a chance to dry, I spritzed it with some White Pearl Mixer shimmer spray just to add a little bit of tone on tone shimmer all over the panels. And then I dried it with my hairdryer and removed the washi tape. Once I was satisfied that was all dry, I dusted it with talcum powder to remove any static moisture or greasy fingerprints, and then I took a fairly detailed floral cluster stamp and stamped it in unicorn white pigment ink from Hero Arts, and then drizzled on some white embossing powder and melted that with my heat tool. I wanted to create some subtle floral texture on top of my smooshing. I then squirted some water onto my glass mat and mixed it with a little bit of PVA, just white school glue, picked it up with a paintbrush and spattered it on. And then I sprinkled on some white embossing powder again and melted it with my heat tool. I find this is a really great way of adding splats, just adding a little bit of the PVA glue to the water stops the water evaporating too fast when you melt it, and it makes sure the powder doesn't blow away. Once that was all set and cool, I erased as much of the pencil lines as I could, and then I used my stitched rectangle die to die cut out two stitched rectangles, which I then added to my card blanks using tape runner. To create a focal point, I took some more of the mixed media paper and die cut out two of the coordinating floral dies and then stamped on that with embossing ink. I then drizzled over the white embossing powder again and melted that with my heat tool. And then I did a bit of emboss resist. I smushed some more Uncharted Mariner onto my glass mat, added a bit of water, picked it up with my paintbrush and then painted the flowers. And the white embossed lines resist this watercolour, and so the image takes shape and the flowers get some colour. To colour the leaves, I used the broken china and painted that on in exactly the same way. I did find it quite helpful to have the printed stamped image in front of me because I'd heat embossed white on white paper. It was a bit difficult to see where the flowers started and finished. So having that bit of acetate with the line work on just helped me to see where I needed to paint. And I left those to dry for a couple of minutes and then put them on my card. To add my flowers to the card, I used some double-sided self-adhesive foam tape, just some scraps I had sitting around on my desk, and then I added the floral die cuts over the smushed background, tucking them in the corner. For my sentiment, I decided to use a Thinking of You stamp. This is, I believe, from Clearly Besotted. And I stamped it in Uncharted Mariner because I didn't want to bring in any other colour like black or gold. I did also stamp the sentiments with embossing ink so that I could then dip this piece of paper into some clear embossing powder and heat it to create some shiny, slightly dimensional sentiments. I then cut these out with a small stitched rectangle die and use foam tape again to add them to my card fronts, tucking them under the floral cluster die cut. For a finishing touch on these cards, yes, you've guessed it, I got out some Nouveau drops. These are White Blizzard Nouveau drops. They dry clear but have some iridescent glitter in them. Some of them might absorb some of the ink from the cards, but that will look pretty. And that brings us to the end of these cards and this video. I do hope you've enjoyed it and it's given you some ideas of things you can do with the supplies and tools you already own. If you have enjoyed it, if it has given you some ideas, do let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and I will see you back here for another video very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.